So I have someone who's asking me about hypersexuality versus high sex drive, and I thought we'd have a talk about it. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. They ask, what's hypersexuality? What's the threshold? Because sometimes people mistake a healthy libido for hypersexuality or try to shame women with healthy sex drives due to internalized misogyny. This is actually a really good question. So, when I think of hypersexuality, I think of someone who has uh, persistent, uncontrollable urges to have sex. They desire to have sex all the time, 24/7. They're thinking about it. They're engaging in certain actions to have access to it. And it really becomes um, all consuming. There's a show out right now, which I think is where this post originated from, where I was talking about the show, and this man was talking about how he could lay down and have sex more than he could stand up and just be walking around in society. And essentially, that to me is someone who is hypersexual. When I'm assessing someone for hypersexuality, or any mental health disorder, really, you're looking at how much it affects their social, their emotional, and their occupational functioning. But also with hypersexuality, you're looking at like risk that people are taking to obtain it. And so when I'm looking at are they trying to, have sex with everyone? Or are they talking about it in every conversation that they're having, even with friends, with family members? I've made a post before on lust. If you're out with family members, having dinner or whatever, and they're not engaging with you because they're too busy chasing after, someone, a potential sexual partner, or they're looking at people in a way that's sexually inappropriate, or they're making sexual comments all the time. Sex has become an intrusion in their social settings. Occupational, if you're looking, you're thinking about sex all the time when you're at work, you're aroused all the time when you're at work, you're thinking about how you're going to get out of work to go get it. So, for example, I knew someone who worked in an airport. And she talked about how people would go and meet up with random people in the airport bathroom and having sex. I've also worked with people who've gotten in trouble for sex on the job, whether it be they're having sex in a freezer, if they work in IT and they're accessing porn, through work servers or whatever. If they are, masturbating, they're caught masturbating on the job. I've worked with people who've gotten in trouble for that kind of stuff. Hooking up, with coworkers and things like that. I think that's also something where people don't care about the rules. Things don't apply to them, and they're engaging in risky behavior that could potentially make them lose their job, their livelihood, their means of supporting themselves. Emotional functioning is the third thing. So it's constantly on their mind. They're thinking about how they can get it, who they can have it with. If they become upset or enraged, disrespectful, if they don't get it, you don't give it to me, I'm going to go out and get it from somebody else. So they hold the other person in the relationship hostage, and they become aggressive about it. They don't care. You don't care if the other person that you're engaged with sex likes it or not. You just want to do what you need to do, and get what you need to get from it. So people actually become emotionally abusive and make their partner feel very insecure when they don't get their needs met, and it becomes very much a one-sided relationship. You could see, I've seen this manifest, when people have cancer and other things like that, which ironically was also on that show. But a lot of times this will manifest when a partner becomes ill, and they're not able to perform or keep up with what they once had. and that person doesn't care. Like, I don't care about you being ill. I don't care about you having problems. I just want my needs. There's also what I call a tolerance. So you need more and more and more to get gratified. So you start looking in group orgies. You start looking at risky sex, or sex workers rather. So engaging in, buying ladies or men of the night. Going to strip clubs, asking to go into the champagne room, hooking up with strangers randomly and casually. There's a website that is now devoted to this, where you don't even know someone and you can just go over, have sex, and go. Sniffies is becoming very popular, where my wife has gone out to work, come on over and get you some. There's risk because they don't know these people. They don't know who they're hooking up with. They don't know what these people may or may not have in terms of STIs. And, they're doing all of this under the shroud of, I need it. I've got to have it. I don't care what it looks like. I just need this in order to satisfy this craving. And it becomes an uncontrollable urge. Risk. I also brought up the planes where people are engaging in sex. Matter of fact, there was a TikTok I saw a couple weeks ago, and this is very common. I don't think people understand how common this is. That people get caught up in planes where they take off their clothes or they're having sex, and they get into trouble for it. So you get into legal trouble when you do things like this and people are doing this in front of children. Movie theaters are also very popular. A high sex drive is a component of hypersexuality, but a high sex drive can be contained and that it doesn't consume you all at a time. When you become consumed and you start to build a tolerance and it's more and more and more and it can't be controlled, that's where it becomes dangerous. So having a high sex drive, you could 2 to 3 times, but you're okay if you don't have it. You will not die and the relationship will not spontaneously combust into a fireball. You do not become derogatory or disrespectful to your partner. Now, if you guys aren't aligned, and you know that going in, then that's a different conversation. But when you start to become threatening and hostile, and I'm going to go get it from somebody else, and then you actually follow up and do go get it from other people, and your partner's not okay, and it threatens the health and integrity of your relationship and your partner and yourself, then that is hypersexuality. I think also the other aspect of it too, where it can become abusive, especially when you're hypersexual, is when you start to threaten or coerce people into doing things that they don't want to do in order to maintain the relationship. We have to open up our relationship and have group sex, or I have to have an affair, because you're just not giving me what I need, and you need to be okay with it. We have to become swingers. We have to become poly, and this doesn't work for me because, and people put it under that shroud. So I'm not saying that, any one thing is bad or another, but I'm saying that hypersexuality, there's never enough. And it becomes dangerous because you start to jeopardize your health and the health of other people. People often start to become impulsive and they can't satiate themselves enough from sex. Everything, every conversation, every action becomes an act of lust. Finding out how to quell, or just chasing after lust, which can never be quenched. Everyone becomes an object for your desire when you're hypersexual. So I hope that explains, hypersexuality a little bit more. But, hypersexuality can become dangerous in and of itself, but it certainly is more dangerous when it's paired with deviant thinking, because then we start talking about people when they become deviant, sexually deviant, and hypersexual. Then you talk about people who are opportunistic criminals and all sorts of, maladaptive patterns when it comes to sex. So I hope that helps. Thanks so much.